Hello, my name is Tiffany Adams, and I am a licensed real estate agent here with Royal LePage Atlantic in Nova Scotia. I wanted to speak to you today about the Shelter Foundation and the importance of being able to stand behind such a cause. We are all aware of the impact that the Shelter Foundation creates in our communities, whether they be large or small. I am not here today, however, to tell you how good it feels to give back. And I am not going to speak on behalf of the people who run the charities receiving our donations. Today, I am here to share with you the lasting impacts of being a direct recipient. I am here to share with you the abuse I experienced and witnessed as a child. There are two main reasons why I'm able to thrive as a woman, mother, friend, wife, and businesswoman. I am here because I have a mother who loves unconditionally, and because of the support of the Women's Shelter. My mom, throughout her 8-year marriage, was the subject of physical, emotional, sexual, and financial abuse at the hands of my father. My father, now dead, starved us. My mother used to pick small wild strawberries to feed us and kept a spoon in the garden where she would peel cucumbers to give to us as well. By the time we escaped, my father had already knocked out the front teeth of my younger brother, who was 3 at the time of the incident. When we left, my mother, at 36 years old, wore a girl's size 12. Within months of leaving, did she get up to a woman's size 0. I witnessed my father hit my mother, hit my brothers, and eat in front of us while he denied us food. He threatened all of us all of the time. My mother was not allowed to have any money. One time, my grandmother sent my mom $50 for her birthday. She hid this in an empty lipstick container. That $50 bought us freedom. She used this money to pay for our escape. We escaped with only a knapsack of important papers that she knew she would need in court, and a garbage bag filled with winter clothes for myself and my brothers. We lived in a very rural community with a population of 27 people. She had to run across a field and a creek with a 2-year-old on her hip, a 4-year-old in her hand, and a garbage bag, all the while my father was in the shower. The $50 was given to a trustworthy neighbor to drive us approximately 40 kilometers to a mall near a women's shelter. My 2-year-old brother was sick on the way. I was 8 years old at the time and in grade 3. I relied on the school bus to get to and from school. That day, I was picked up from school by my mother and the neighbor. If I had have gotten onto that school bus, I can confidently tell you I would not be here sharing this with you today. I vividly recall the night before our escape. Sorry. Okay. Okay. I vividly recall the night before our escape. We had a 2-story house with 1 bathroom, 3 bedrooms, and a detached 2-car garage. I was in bed, and my father was screaming at my mother. I cannot tell you how many times I heard him say that night he was going to kill her. At some point during the screaming, my mother came up into my bedroom, sat on my bed, told me repeatedly that she loved me, that she was proud of me, that she was so sorry, and she told me not to leave my room. Then she told me goodbye. I am 33 now, and that goodbye is the hardest thing to remember. I begged her not to go down the stairs. I pleaded. She told me she had to. I was so sure that by her staying next to me on my little twin bed, she would be safe. I recall following her out into the top of the staircase and sitting at the top of the stairs, begging her not to go. I know now that she went into my brother's bedrooms as well and said goodbye to her sons. This night still haunts me. In my darkest moments, I am that little girl at the top of the staircase. I do not know what she had to do to placate him that night, nor do I want to. But what I do know is that night was the last night I ever spent in that house. I am also aware now, even as my mother's life is coming to an end, that goodbye was the hardest goodbye. Whew. Sorry, my glasses are all fogged up now. Yay! Okay. Immediately upon arriving at the shelter, aside from the first breath of freedom that and calm they offered to us, my mother sought out legal aid to have full custody of her children. We were her priority. The shelter had a dedicated woman on staff to help in these matters. To this day, I remain in contact with this fantastic woman who took one look at my mother and decided to help her fight. This summer, she came to visit us in Nova Scotia, and I was fortunate enough to treat her to lunch, a far cry from the things she has done for myself and my family. During our 3-month stay at the shelter, my mother did indeed gain full custody of us. In his affidavit in court, my father admitted he would kill my mother and my brothers given the chance. In all likelihood, I would have been groomed for further abuse. The courts made the immediate decision that he would not have any contact with us whatsoever. And it was decided the abuse was so bad that they had offered to put us into police protection with name changes and everything. At the time, our abuse case was deemed one of the worst domestic violence cases seen in Canada to date. The physical abuse my mother suffered resulted in the need for many surgeries. The lack of nutrition combined with the blunt trauma. Sorry, is there a tissue? Okay. The physical abuse my mother suffered resulted in the need for many surgeries. The lack of nutrition combined with the blunt trauma at the hands of my father caused my mother to need the remaining 11 teeth in her mouth to be pulled. In more than one way, the shelter gave her a new smile. One of the most surprising things the shelter provided us with was a weekly cash allowance. For someone who had no financial freedom, being handed even a small sum of cash and being told to spend it is shocking. My mother went to a nearby grocery store and she bought a chunk of chocolate from the candy bar. She bought me a lobster because I was so excited you could buy a pet at a grocery store. At the time, I did not know lobsters were edible, and to this day, I struggle to cook them. The shelter also gave us a special gift. They gave my brothers and I our very first Christmas. I had been taught from a young age that Santa doesn't come to poor people. And when you have nothing and are not allowed to have anything, you do not question the truth in what your parents tell you. To this day, I believe in Santa. Who else could have tried to make up for 8 years of a holiday magic? We finally found housing in January of 1998. We were moved into a 3-bedroom townhouse in Burlington, Ontario. The help and the support of the shelter helped us find furniture, clothing, and even dishes. They were instrumental in finding a school for myself and aiding in the implementation of school lockdowns on the off chance my father ever discovered where I was. For years, my mother and I were made to carry alarms on our persons. Code words and safety protocols were a staple in my childhood. Starting over is never easy. My mother was never afraid of a day of hard work. And with the help of a women's shelter, she was able to hold down 3 part-time and 1 full-time jobs. She never wanted her kids to go without. She may have raised my brothers and I in government housing, but as soon as she was able to, we got out of it. She slowly but surely worked her way from bankruptcy to having a small mortgage on a home to living mortgage-free and having her children do the same. My work ethic has been ingrained in me by my mother. Had she not have had the support or the resources available to her from the women's shelter, she would not only, had she not had the support or the resources offered to her to not only be free, but to feel free to be the woman and survivor she is, she could have easily become another statistic. On average, it takes leaving your abuser 3 times before you stay away. Fear of the unknown is sometimes greater than the fear of what awaits you. I did not choose to share my story with you to gain sympathy, but to reach that one individual who needs to hear it. No help is too little or too great. I started by telling you that I am here today for 2 reasons. Because I have a mother who loves unconditionally, and because of the support of the women's shelter. When my family and I needed the women's shelter, the Shelter Foundation didn't exist yet. It started soon after. At the time, shelters relied on other donations and Rotary clubs. When you make your contribution to this much needed cause, you aren't just helping some faceless person. You are producing hope. You are inspiring magic in children who know far too much fear. You are helping break the cycle of violence. You are taking a stand and saying any story similar to mine is unacceptable. And who knows, you may be helping your future colleagues or children. Thank you.